So I am looking forward to this game actually, even though I'm obviously not as hyped up for it as I would be for other games. I do like watching Zerg versus Terran. I think they can make for one of the most exciting matchups. And I think this is going to be a tough matchup for Jaedong. He did play a great matchup earlier today versus Boxer, and I'm not sure if you guys watched that game with Boxer versus Jaedong, and really, I think, I'm not sure if you've got to give credit to Jaedong for playing well. He played a great game, but at the same time, you've got to say that Boxer threw that game away. And the intro is just playing, guys, for anyone who, anyone's wondering. I'm just going full screen now, and the intro is playing, so if anyone wants to sync in with me, and I'll give you guys the countdown in a second. But as I was saying, and if there's any problems with sound or any other issues, just send me a PM to pop me out of full screen to let me know. And we're back on the stage, so that should help you guys sync in with me. My stream did buffer a couple of times. Hopefully it won't buffer. And just seeing the split screen view mode now. Hopefully it won't buffer too much as the game goes on. I suppose C necessarily isn't known for his prowess versus Zerg. He was quite uninspiring in his best of 3 matchup versus Gorush. Extremely uninspiring. He got completely owned. He didn't have a chance versus him. But I guess that was probably more down to Gorush than to C, because Gorush had been absolutely resurgent this season, at least in Zerg versus Terran. Countdown starting up, guys. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Here we go, guys. Okay, let's hope for a few good games. As I was saying, Gorush has been absolutely fascinating this season, and I was really looking forward to seeing him in the MSL versus Bisu. Unfortunately, he didn't live up to the hype on that occasion, and I guess his Zerg versus Protoss is still lagging a little bit behind his Zerg versus Terran and his Zerg versus Zerg, which again we saw how badly he destroyed July. And you kind of feel bad because July is someone who had been playing really great Zerg versus Protoss, and you saw that in his defeat versus Nalra, and victory versus Nalra, and you would have felt that he would have probably stood a better chance versus Bisu, although Bisu is an absolute monster when it comes to Protoss versus Zerg. And just in terms of starting position, C has started up here playing Terran, obviously in off-white at the 11 o'clock position, and Jaedong is at the 5 o'clock position playing Zerg. So it's going to be an interesting game between these two guys. I have genuinely, naturally felt most of the time that Hitchhiker is a map that favors Terran players. It definitely, we know, favors Terran players when it comes to games versus Protoss. Protoss players have a very hard time on this map. But and we saw that in Iris versus Stork, in the way that Iris just dominated that game, although Stork did take a huge risk by going for that rush. And I think that just goes to show how strong this map is for Terran players. That's a player like Stork, who almost never goes for cheesy strategies. We almost always see him going for kind of standard play, and he's fairly supremely confident, especially Protoss versus Terran, in his standard play. Yet he felt compelled to go for kind of a cheese rush on this map, and that just goes to show you about the map. And I think it is a very difficult map for Zerg versus Terran. It all depends on whether or not the Zerg player can get a little bit of an edge economically. And it's difficult for the Zerg player because, first of all, the Terran player can scout them quite easily, and that's one of the biggest factors. The fact is that C actually has not sent that SCV out, and you saw 2 drones being sent out there by Jaedong, and obviously the purpose of that was in case that SCV was there, just to harass it, to try and get the hatchery expansion down as soon as possible. But C not electing to scout early in this game. And again, to me, that shows that he's a little bit off the top of his game. Last season, C was being heralded as being one of the upcoming new great Terran players, and he didn't really perform. And Jaedong going for a pretty standard 1 hatchery, then spawning pool, then probably another hatchery build, and C not even electing to block off his ramp. So he's quite comfortable in letting Jaedong scout that, and Jaedong going in with the early scout. And again, this shows to me, this is the difference. If you're watching the two players right now, as I said, I do feel that the map is slightly in favor of Terran, and Savior, of course, demonstrated how great Zerg can play on this map. But again, the strategies that Savior has used to play well on this map, with that Guardian, basically the Guardian build that he uses, and we've seen it do. And Jaedong sending the drone out now to the bottom left, and it looks like he's going to be going for yet another expansion, or perhaps he's just scouting for some kind of a proxy factory float or something like that. We did see Savior do that brilliantly against Iris on Hitchhiker, and as I was just saying, that Savior, no, he is going to set up an expansion. So Jaedong indeed setting up that extra expansion, and I think that's a clever move. But it may backfire on him because C has chosen not to expand at all. He's chosen to go for 3 barracks. So C is going to be coming up with a fast medic and marine push here, and it looks like C is going for a low eco game at the moment, and therefore the crucial point is going to be whether or not Jaedong can anticipate this and get some defenses up in time. If he finds himself caught off guard, he'll be in huge trouble. C still has not, only now starting to take his refinery, so that's quite slow by C to start up his refinery quickly if he cannot hurt Jaedong's economy. And C is going to scout that expansion with that SCV. If he sends it down to the left, he's just turn it back around now, and Jaedong just trying to kill it. So Jaedong should have blocked that ramp really, but I guess his zerglings didn't pop on in time. Jaedong only now starting his extractor as well, but the fact of the matter is that Jaedong will have a significant economic advantage should the game continue on much longer, and if C's initial medic and marine push fails. Again, it's very difficult for a Zerg player to push out on this, and Jaedong is going to have to use some sort of flanking strategies here in terms of going up from the side and taking out the neutral buildings and forcing C to be a little bit more defensive. His Mutalisk harass obviously is going to be absolutely key, and we did see some brilliant maneuvering by GG Play versus, I think it was Wayson on this map in their matchup, and GG Play was absolutely brilliant in the positioning of his lurkers over the hill, and I think this is almost a must-win game for Jaedong. If Jaedong loses this game to C, the next matchup is Monty Hall, and you guys all know, if you've ever heard me commentating a game on Monty Hall, and Jaedong just with a couple of zerglings here, just trying to take down those marines. Brilliant micro by C, and I was commenting how I felt he was a little bit off color, but great micro. He did manage to lose a couple of his marines, so he still has 3 left and more popping out. That zergling dies just on the ramp, and how critical will that prove to be as the game progresses? That zergling dying just before he gets up that ramp. So Jaedong now smartly setting up a creep colony, but he's going to need at least 2 or 3. If he relies too much on getting his Mutalists up before, it's not, you know, this is going to be the most critical point of the game, when C is going to have his medics popping out any second now. His academy is complete. You can tell from seeing that Comstat station going up and the academy itself, but and Jaedong now has a brilliant positioning of that overlord just over those hovering troops of C. But the thing about this map is that the thing about this upcoming attack is that if Jaedong doesn't get a couple more Sunkens up, he might find himself in trouble here, because C is just about ready to push out, and that medic and marine group, Jaedong, if he doesn't prepare for it, and it's very difficult in pro games when you haven't scouted, but he might find himself caught off guard, and C is indeed coming with a lot of SCVs, so C really committing himself to this attack. Jaedong is only now starting up the Sunkens. He's also cancelled that extractor to use that drone for another Sunken. Will those Sunkens be up in time is the crucial factor. He does have 1 Sunken up, he does have a few Zerglings, and those few Zerglings might give him the necessary time while C regroups his forces, but Jaedong is only going to have 2 Sunkens up in time. He might not have enough. This is going to be the crucial battle here. Looks like C is coming forth with the SCVs first to absorb. Jaedong putting up a lot of creep colonies in the hope that some of them will turn to Sunkens. He realizes that he can afford to invest the resources, and C now coming out. Jaedong with the Zerglings trying to draw fire from those marines. C with a lot of medic groups, another Sunken pops. 3 Sunkens up now for Jaedong. Jaedong 4 Sunkens pop. Jaedong might actually be able to hold this. 4 Sunkens up, 5 Sunkens up, 4 Sunkens up. One of them dies. Jaedong cancels one of the other Sunkens. He's forced to use his drones to fight as well. But it does look like C is actually going to be able to take out those Sunkens. But C doesn't have many marines left. He does have more reinforcements pouring in though, and I'm not sure what Jaedong has if he's produced more Zerglings. Jaedong finds himself in trouble here. Brilliant rush by C, brilliant push by C, using those SCVs, and without those SCVs, obviously that would have failed. So he really committed himself, and you've got to have courage to be able to do that. You've got to have guts to be able to do that. He might be able to take on this expansion, but I think Jaedong needs to set back and be a little bit more defensive, not worry too much about losing this expansion, because he will still have the economic advantage with that expansion on the south left, in the bottom left, and he should have tried to put up a couple more Sunkens in his main to try and slow C down, but C is now getting reinforcements coming in. He's left obviously enough SCVs in his main to keep producing marines. He is pumping from 3 barracks, and Jaedong now once again setting his Zerglings out in splinters, and this is stupid by Jaedong. This is really critical error here by Jaedong. Again, he sends 4 Zerglings out, 3 of them die without doing anything. He has got his lair up. If he can get those Mutalists up, C doesn't have anything to counter the Mutalists. He only has 5 or 6 marines. Jaedong with another group of Zerglings. Had he preserved those first 2 Zerglings that he sent down that ramp, how much better a position would he have been in now? And he's just trying to get a flank around those marines. He's now being forced to bring his drones out. He does have enough of the economy to be able to do that, but C and Jaedong concedes. GG. Big mistake by Jaedong. I think Jaedong just cracked under pressure there. Brilliant play by C. You've got to give him credit for the way he executed that push and his audacity in using his SCVs. But I've got to say that Jaedong threw that game away. I feel Jaedong was in control. He was getting those Sunkens up. He probably didn't have enough resources for the Mutalists, but I think the critical, absolutely vital error by Jaedong was the fact that he sent 2 small groups of Zerglings out down that ramp while C was focusing on that expansion. And if Jaedong had preserved those Zerglings, he would have been able to get a flank once C came up that ramp into his main, and he would have probably been able to defend successfully. He sacrificed about 8 Zerglings without killing a single marine, and that was critical. And now you've got to favor C to take this best of 3. You've got to favor him to take Monty Hall. So I'm going to take a short break, and I'll be back for Monty Hall, guys.